Hey y'all, so recently one of my much older YouTube videos, like 5 years ago old, has started taking off on YouTube, and so I thought it was time to do a little update to that video. And that video went into detail about what we call our slush fund. If you're new here, my name is Jessie Fearon. My family and I, we are a 100% debt-free, which includes our home. We have paid for home, we have paid for everything, and a part of how we were able to become debt-free and find the financial success and freedom that we were looking for was from a very simple budgeting trick, if you will, by using sinking funds. Now, I have a whole video that goes into in-depth on how we use sinking funds, what all of our sinking funds are, and that whole process to setting them up. I will link to that in the description of this video. The purpose of this video is to talk about our slush fund. It was actually the first sinking fund, if you will, that we set up. So our slush fund is a buffer account between our checking and our emergency fund. So this little slush fund, this little kind of buffer, it is, it's not meant to protect us in an emergency. That's what our emergency fund is for. Our emergency fund is meant to protect us in an actual emergency. So like last year when our septic tank flooded our basement and our laundry room, and when our HVAC went out, and we discovered we had to rewire our entire house. All of that happened literally within a 3-week time span, and our emergency fund covered our rear ends during that time. Same with when our middle child broke his arm. The emergency fund covered that. The slush fund is meant to cover those those minor things, but more like the budget oops. So the budget oops things being, oh no, totally forgot that, we've got to renew our car tags this month. Forgot that we've got to do that. And so it's going to be, $200. Totally forgot about it. And so therefore that money would come from the slush fund, the $200 would. Therefore, if we were unable to redo the budget in a way that we were able to get that $200 from the budget by cutting expenses, by cutting the planned expenses we had, if we weren't able to find that $200 in order to pay the car tags, that is when we would pull from the slush fund, because it's not really an emergency, and there's no reason to really touch the emergency fund, but it's still something that has to get paid. And the truth is that it's something that should have been budgeted for, it should have been planned for, so it was really just a budget mistake, right? It wasn't something that necessarily our emergency fund needs to jump in and take care of. And so literally our slush fund, it is, so our main bank is Wells Fargo. And so they have, I don't think they call it keep the change. Oh, it's way to save. That's what they call it. So we have a way to save little savings account, with Wells Fargo, and that is the slush fund, y'all. That's the slush fund. And so we usually keep not more than $1,000. And a lot of times there's not even $1,000 in there. Sometimes there's like only $100. Like I said, it is not meant to be for emergency purposes. It's just meant to cover any little budget mistake type of things. And so there's no reason for it to have thousands and thousands of dollars sitting in there. Not only that, that savings account does not earn jack in terms of interest. So our big emergency fund is at an internet bank, and online banks typically give you much better interest rates. So you can earn more money, and because we don't touch the emergency fund very often, it's slowly growing. I mean, it's not like it's invested in the stock market where it's going to hopefully make us millionaires, 30 years from now, but it does at least earn us some money, on the money that we have saved, at those online banks. And I will link to the bank that we use in the description of this video for our emergency fund. And so that's really it. The slush fund's really not anything complicated or crazy. I did, when I first started talking about slush funds, someone did tell me that apparently slush funds are typically for illicit purposes. It's not for illicit purposes, I promise you. We just called it the slush fund. I don't even know why. It just was like a name we came up with. So there was no real reason behind it. So let me know if you have something similar, if you use a slush fund, if you use the sinking fund method when it comes to budgeting, or if you have a similar buffer type of account that's meant to protect you for your little budget mistakes, that's meant to protect you in the event of a budget mistake. So let me know what you use and how you do it.